in that occasion, but
Yep.
the actual fact of it is, Mr. Elliott, right, the SVR, this has been an ongoing thing for the year of 2013. Mortgage conditions that you run, we can clarify categorically you are not impacted by the cap margin. It's not something that applies to yourself.
But you're using technical terms, the cap margin. Is it not a fact that when we took out our mortgage in December 2007, that your conditions stated that the standard variable rate would not go above 2.5% over the base rate? Was that not a fact?
That would, in terms of what, say, wouldn't go 2.5. It's not in your. It's not part of your. You were not affected by the cap margin, so we can't state anything. It's been something that's been fully checked by the SVR, and the standard mortgage conditions that you're on, Mr. Elliott, it's been agreed were not affected by the cap margin. It's not something that you would not be able to sort of claim any compensation. You wouldn't be able to raise the issue. Reason being, it's already been clarified that yourself would not be affected by not getting the information about the cap margin in December of 2008. So there's not any further you'd be able to take this. We can't. It's not something that has actually affected yourself, sir.
Sorry, there's not any further I'd be able to take this. The query.
Further you could take it. So generally, it's something that obviously before any of this sort of thing comes to light, which started in the background way before it actually came out.
Yep.
Look at the mortgage conditions. They've gone through everything, and the FCA have gone through it, and that's obviously the industry regulator. And the 2007 mortgage conditions were 100% were not impacted by the cap margin.
What do you know about your terms and conditions that gave Santander, or the Abbey as it may have been at that time, the power of attorney to sign and date documents on behalf of their customers? Do you know anything about that, Danny?
Well, there's not power of attorney. That's like a strong sort of term to use, so that's not something that's happened, sir.
What wasn't that in section 28 of your terms and conditions?
Again, what sections you're referring to, Mr. Elliott? I've not sort of got the conditions there. I can sort of see if I can load them up for you now.
Yeah.
Again, honestly, Mr. Elliott, the fact of the matter is, and the final sort of line on it is, right, the 2007 mortgage conditions, they're not affected by this.
So what, Danny, sorry to interrupt you, I just want to get to the point, the nitty gritty. What about the section I read out to you, the 14.3C, that said,
right,
yeah, if we are increasing the standard variable.
And on it said the standard variable it dropped, it did not increase. That is irrelevant on this issue, sir. The standard variable it decreased, it did not increase. So that part is totally irrelevant. From this fact, that is irrelevant. The standard variable decreased, not increased. So that point would not be taken into consideration with this, because the standard variable went down in reality. So that point is not something to bring up with it anyway, because that's related to the standard variable going up. The standard variable didn't go. The standard variable went down at that point. So that is not a section you would even be looking at with this.
Well, I'm looking at it just out of interest in relation to the correlation between the UK base rate, the LIBOR that's fixed by the Bank of England every day at around 11.15.
All that section that you're on,
yep.
Speaking of that, relates to the standard variable increasing, which
yep.
it didn't. So that, no matter what it says underneath it, that is actually talking about the standard variable increasing, which actually it didn't happen. The standard variable did decrease. So that anything it says beyond that is irrelevant to this, because the standard variable did not increase at that point, sir.
Yeah, you're talking about in that specific moment in time. I'm talking about the fact that when, on the day that we took out our mortgage, can you see my personal details there, 14th of December 2007? Can you see? Right. At that point, was it or wasn't it known that the Abbey standard variable rate would not go more than 2.5% over the UK base rate?
Is that in your mortgage conditions, are you saying, sir?
Yeah, I'm saying, was that not part of our mortgage that we signed on that day, that it was understood that the standard variable rate would not go above 2.5% over the UK base rate?
Which it didn't until that margin increase, sir. Which it didn't up until the margin increase.
Right, so are you saying that the standard variable rate and the margin are two totally different entities that aren't related to each other at all?
The standard variable and the cap margin are directly linked to each other. What it's being picked up on, sir, is on the 2007 conditions.
Yep.
If we increase the cap margin,
yep.
we do not need to make you aware of it, and that's the fact of it. For your particular mortgage conditions, we do not need to make you aware if that cap margin increases. The standard variable rate increases, and you're on it, we'll write to you and we'll tell you that.
Yeah, got you there though, haven't I, Danny? Because you just said on the sentence before that the standard variable rate and the cap margin are linked together.
Of course they're linked together, but you're basically right, the top and bottom of it is, right, there's not any. If you wanted to speak to the sort of customer services team, you wanted to raise a complaint on this, if you believe you've got a sort of point you argue, you could speak to them on it. If they sort of, it wouldn't be.
Have you got somebody senior that I can actually email so that I've got a point of contact where I've actually got a dialogue, a hard copy rather than just phone calls all the time?
I can give you an address to write to regarding this. I can give you
Is there an email? Is there an email for anyone?
No, they would definitely not use email necessarily. I can give you a fax number if that's totally necessary. I can get a fax.
So sorry, what about Pam Speed, the director of Santander operations? Does she have a personal email?
It's not something you wouldn't email. Basically, right, this team is set up here to deal with it. If you want to write in, and then we'll look at your case. But Mr. Willis, it's been looked at by the FCA. It's not a case of Santander looked at the mortgage contract.
Sorry, is that meant to reassure me? The fact that you just said to me that the standard variable rate and the cap margin are linked together.
Well, the cap margin is the maximum above the base rate that we can charge as our standard variable rate.
Exactly.
In December 2008, that wasn't communicated adequately to some customers. For yourself, being on the 2007 conditions,
Yeah.
you do not need to make you aware of the cap margin increasing, and that's the reason behind it.
Well, see, personally, when I mentioned to you about section 14.3 subsection C, and it says if we are increasing the standard variable rate.
Right, again, on it said the standard variable was not increasing. That section is literally totally irrelevant. Even if you're writing, I wouldn't bring that bit up.
So the fact that the two are linked.
The two are linked, but
Yep.
the two are linked. One was increasing, one was decreasing. So if you've got terms and conditions that say if you put the standard variable rate up, X, Y, and Z, if the standard variable rate goes down, that point is then irrelevant. That's what
the two are very relevant to each other, though, Danny, aren't they?
That's what happened. The cap margin was going up.
Yep.
The variable rate was decreasing. So if you've got a bit in the conditions that says if the standard variable rate goes up,
Yep.
and you're trying to bring it up as an argument in this, it's totally irrelevant.
No, so it's not. It's a point of fact. I'm not looking to argue with you, Danny. I haven't got time.
But the fact
Yeah.
is, if you've picked that out as like a key thing and you've picked out the conditions,
Yep.
it's not part of this because
Yep.
that stipulates specifically if the standard variable rate increases. The standard variable rate did not increase, it decreased. We did not increase.
It decreased. Why do you believe it decreased, Danny?
Because it did decrease.
Yeah, but why did the standard variable rate decrease?
Along with the sort of financial market.
Yeah, just for your guide, I think it decreased in line with the base rate, but
Not directly in line with it, though. That's what we basically say. So, look, I mean, you can write in that and certainly give the address rather than sort of ringing up on everything if you'd like that.
well, yeah, it seems apparent to me you can't actually answer my question, so it's probably best that I speak to somebody that can.
Right, it's not a case of that. So what we've basically looked at, your
Yep.
mortgage conditions were not impacted by the cap margin. That is the top and bottom of it, Mr. Williams. I appreciate you've got sort of points on it and we're happy to sort of raise them, but the fact
Yeah.
is that you weren't impacted by this.
Right, so just to clarify then, Danny,
Yeah.
the standard variable rate and the cap margin are linked together.
Are linked together, of course.
Right. It's your belief that I haven't been impacted by anything that Santander did around
the cap margin increase in the
right, even though the cap margin increase does directly link to the standard variable rate.
Well, it doesn't increase it. It doesn't increase the standard variable
See, I
rate.
think you're missing the point. It doesn't increase it when the base rate is going down. It doesn't increase it when the base rate is going down.
Right.
But at some point in the future, if you as a Santander, and this may well affect you, Danny, so it might be something for you to just take another perspective on. If what you're actually saying to people is that the cap margin has increased, i.e. Santander can now raise its standard variable rate another 1.25% above what they previously capped that rate against the base rate, then obviously it impacts on somebody, and obviously somebody who's got a mortgage with Santander does have a right to know how that increase in the cap margin is going to then affect any possible standard variable rate that they're going to be linked to when they come out of their fixed rate mortgage. And that person, do you not agree that
I agree that you've sort of got points on it, sir. I do fully appreciate it, and you have sort of looked into it and everything like that, but the fact is, the mortgage conditions that you're on, sir, if the cap margin changes, we don't need to make you aware of it. I mean, I've got them here too.
even if it's linked?
I'll just see if I can get any points on it. You okay to hold?
Well, Well, I prefer if you give me a point of contact to somebody that I can escalate this, because at the moment I feel possibly there's a chance that we're misunderstanding each other. I personally don't understand how the standard variable rate and the cap margin can be linked together, but yet an increase in the cap margin have no effect upon somebody who at some point in the future is going to have to go on to the standard variable rate.
Because when you are then impacted by the standard variable rate,
Yep.
you're aware of it. What's not seen as an issue, sir, which
Yep.
is not seen as an issue, is that the cap margin change. The cap margin change is not the issue for any of this. The fact that it wasn't communicated adequately is the issue, right?
Yeah, it wasn't communicated at all.
Right, what we're basically stating, right, is, okay, this cap margin went up, we're allowed to do it, that's a fact, we are allowed to increase that cap margin. We should have communicated adequately to customers, right? When this does affect you, so say you're on a fixed rate, you've gone to the standard variable rate, you were sent a letter to say, you've now gone to the standard variable rate, here is your next 3 monthly payment, and that's the reason why we don't believe you're being affected by it. Really, when you are subject to the standard variable rate, you are then communicated adequately to, so there's no sort of, that's the reason, the issue is we didn't communicate it. You've gone to the variable rate, we sent you a letter, you know how much your payments are, you know what interest rate you're on, so the fact that the margin increased is not an issue.
Yeah, see, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that point, Danny, because fundamentally it appears to me you could be wrong. You could be wrong because somebody, while they're still under the pretext of being in a fixed rate mortgage, could have chosen to redeem early without penalty and move to another lender who could have lent them the funds at
Not the case, so that's what it's not. That's definitely not the case. So you would remain subject to an early repayment charge. Not the case. I mean, if you want to write in and put all these points and costs in black and white and put it into it, I can give you a direct address, sir.
Yeah, please do so. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got a pen to hand?
Yeah, I'm going to be writing it down, so take your time.
So it's Santander,
Santander.
and then it's PO Box 1004.
P.O. Box 1004. So 1004, yeah.
And then that is Stockton on Tees.
Stockton on Tees, yeah.
Yeah, and the postcode on that is T for Tango.
Yep.
So T for Tango, S for Sierra.
Yep.
19.
Yep.
And 1 U for uniform, H for hotel.
Right. Okay. And presumably, is there a person that I direct that letter to?
No one specifically, sir, to be fair. If you put it in, that is specifically set up for what's going on here. It's not sort of a general customer service address. That is specifically for the cap margin, that one, sir.
Right. And do you agree it's not really in Santander's interest to compensate anyone for any possible losses?
I wouldn't agree with that. No, but I feel that, you know, to be honest with that, if people have been if people had a 3-month window when they could have remortgaged elsewhere and they've been financially detrimented, then they should be given compensation, and I fully appreciate that. That is the case. If you have a 3-month window, which will be the key point of that, if there is a 3-month window for that particular individual.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Danny. I've got that address now to write to, and you'll probably be hearing more from me in the future. But,
Absolutely fine. So
yeah.
Anything else I can sort of help with at this moment in time?
Not at this moment, Danny. I just wish you a good day and hope you have a pleasant weekend. Thanks a lot.
Not a problem. All the best, sir.
Thank you. Bye. There it is.